like a day ago at about 2,000. So if you look at the amount of money that was acquired over 2 days for a charity event, that's really, really awesome. So RDU here opening up with the Miracle Rogue with questing adventurers that we've seen him play prior to great success. No spells, all minions, and nothing too bursty for the time being. But on Thijs' side, there's no wild growth, no innervates. So I think both players will be ramping this game up slowly until one of them picks up. They kind of work the same way, right? Where
Yeah.
the prep and the innervate mirror each other in a weird way.
You just have to hero power each other until they can actually do something.
Well, that might be RDU's first step. If he had the coin, he'd be in a much better spot. Just in general, Rogue does so much better with the coin than without. And if Conceal were picked up, that would also be a pretty big deal. For now, though, both players with an extremely slow start. I almost want to favor RDU in these slower games because he draws his entire deck and can probably draw enough cards to conceal a big questing twice. Could be tough.
Yeah, I mean, just have to hero power again for Thijs. I'll just here. And then next turn you can coin out the Mire Keeper. It's not a problem. Are we gonna see the questing here, or it just might die? So I don't think RDU is gonna risk it.
No, I don't think playing the questing here is reasonable at all.
Yeah, he needs more spells.
A lot more spells. I mean, he needs at least a conceal, because this matchup is usually Druid favored. Just because of the ability they have to just explode on the board very quickly. However, like I feel the matchup got even more lopsided when the Druids started adding Ragnaros to their deck instead of something like Yogg-Saron, because the power of Rag against Rogue has been around forever, and every single time there's been a metagame with Ragnaros, Rogues have suffered, because they can easily sap it. Nowadays, even the addition of Shadow Strike doesn't make it any easier to handle. And the amount of saps you have to use against decks that run Ancients of War, when you have Ragnaros coming down, is already high enough. So Druid is supposed to have pretty big edge, but without the ramp, that's less obvious, to put it that way.
Yeah, Thijs could choose to nourish for ramp here, so he could play the Ancient of War next turn.
Yeah, I guess
Oh,
you
right,
could even
yeah,
play
that's true.
Rag, I guess. Just replay it infinitely. I mean, you want to put pressure, I think ramping up to Rag isn't that bad of an idea. But he's thinking about it, but I think you're right. Just ramping up seems like the better option. We'll see what he does in the end. Yeah, so have you played any of this matchup? You mentioned you played a lot of Druid. How do you fare against Rogue usually?
I mean, the match, I played a game like this before I cast today, and basically the questing Rogue had two conceals with their questing adventure, and I was just screwed.
That's a blowout, I guess, when they get that.
Yeah, I couldn't kill it. And then they had double cold blood, so it was just GG from there.
Yeah, I mean, if they draw their entire deck, that's kind of what they're bound to do. So this is really going to be a combo play for RDU. He's going to play it as combo as you can possibly imagine, because you can't just put down minions one at a time. Aside from Tomb Pillager, usually your minions are there to stick, especially in this deck, because they're valuable to you. One of the big upsides this deck has is it doesn't have limited damage the same way that something like Malygos Rogue might have. So Feral Rage doesn't bother you as much. You can get recurrent value from a stealthed questing.
Do you play Rag here?
And if you do you play Moonfire to kill the Drake?
I was thinking that too. Just so that the Rag hits the face for 8.
Well, the question is, do you want Rag to hit the face, right? Because I mean, you could play Ancient of War and do the Moonfire play as well, or the Hero Power play. That is, it's even more efficient, and you probably bait a sap.
The Rag is better because it actually does something. You know that if you put out Ancient of War and a sap, it's just gonna come out. and it's just basically like, wait, I just wasted my turn. But at
Yeah,
least if you put the rag down, yeah, there's an 8 damage.
I think you're right, because basically either way, going on turn 6, they just go questing, prep into sap, and then suddenly you're back to square one. So it makes a lot of sense. RDU, with all the options in the world, but no way to kill the Ragnaros.
Yeah. Actually, surprisingly, RDU doesn't even have the sap, and Thijs would have thought, hey, you've got so many cards. The sap is coming out, right?
So this is gonna have to be a questing. This is the Gadsden Auctioneer, that is, that you play blind. Don't even consider whether or not you'll have the answer for the Ragnaros right now. The point, sorry, the point at this point in the game, I guess, you just need Shadow Strike, Eviscerate, Backstab, something. And he still can't kill the Ragnaros, even with an Eviscerate that's well placed. Do you ever just start pushing face? I think you kind of have to with Leroy double Cold Blood.
Unfortunately, RDU did not get the sap, which he was hoping to get.
He's got good chances of getting it. Thijs is right now wondering what RDU could possibly be holding. He has seen 2 preparations. What has he got? I mean, Leroy double Cold Blood is 14 damage, and with 7 on board, that's 21. Thijs is, like, he knows that there can't be a Leroy sap Cold Blood. So if he dies, it's going to be over a few turns.
I think it's Thijs' chance to actually put out his big guys, but
Sap is likely going to be there. If you haven't seen it after he's drawn all these cards, Sap is even more likely. So I don't mind a Azure Drake trying to fetch something else, and then maybe start to push for your own counter lethal. You can use Living Roots as well to kill off the minion.
That's true, and then hero power it down so that the 8 damage from the rag goes face again. Alright,
it's gonna be the taunt and kill auctioneer play apparently. Unless he just goes, I was gonna say unless he just goes for giant because sap hurts less, since it's less expensive to play and you get the armor up. Interesting.
Yeah.
Alright. Well, counter lethal has been started.
Yeah, because I mean he's probably only gonna pick up 1 sap. Probably gonna sap the rag.
Or he's gonna pick up 0 saps and do absolutely nothing. He has to get a Azure Drake out on the board, because right now he's dead to giant plus a hit, which is what Thijs was setting up his own lethal with a giant, saying if you don't have sap, then I win right away, and if you do, then I still replay for cheap. This is sap or bust, basically. And this is it. Wow.
Yep. No
what
sap.
A sad game.
How many cards do you have left?
I don't know how much the spell druid really punishes it, because I think druid is still behind on this matchup. In general, the Zoo Warlock just fares well against druids, but with a hand like this, RDU is gonna have to find more early game explosive minions to accompany the Voidwalker.
Yeah, double Doomguard in his hand. Who was the person who had that before? That wasn't RDU.
Thijs was the one. Thijs was stuck
Thijs.
with double Doomguard, double Soulfire, and everything wrong with the world. Thijs with the perfect ramp. He has the Wild Growth, has the Mire Keeper. This is the type of hand you're looking for.
RDU's hand is slowly coming together.
Yeah, Flame Imp would have done him some good in this spot, but...
Mire Keeper's great here, even to just hit this Voidwalker.
So if you're RDU, do you just play all your... do you go Malchezaar's Imp, Voidwalker, Coin, Darkshire, cycle a Doomguard? I imagine that's one of the more obvious plays. You lose a Doomguard in the process, but at least... since it was going to get discarded by the other Doomguard, it doesn't sting as much. Or do you value bursting out your first Doomguard as early as possible?
I guess he's not even gonna do anything yet.
Okay.
He's hoping to probably discard the coin next turn, or we'll see. Or you can just point out the Doomguard next turn.
Well, yeah, that's the idea. Is you either burst out your first Doomguard on turn 4, and if you're lucky, the second Doomguard stays in your hand because you discard whatever it is you top deck. And if you're not,
Yeah.
well, at least you got a 5/7 early, and you discarded. You cycled 2 more cards from your deck, which isn't too bad. And if Silverware Golem shows up, now we're talking. Very good draws there for Thijs. Drake into Living Roots for turn 6. Not only is the Drake a really tough minion to beat, but
it's a tough one because it's like he doesn't know whether to kill just the wolf or the Malcazar's imp. He knows that turn 5 is coming, and RDU still has the coin.
well, one of the bigger fears you have is generally 3 health minions becoming 4 health minions when you see the turn 4 coming up with Argus. But because you're already challenging that with the Drake, it's probably just better to try to value trade at this rate. You are getting a really, really good Ancient of War on turn 7, or on 7 mana rather. I mean, we're talking turn 4 at this point, where he's just ramped up twice.
Oh, he loses his other Doomguard. He did not like that.
Well, he didn't like that because suddenly his entire board is challenged pretty much. I mean, he can kill the 3/2, he can kill the Drake, but he's losing everything in the process, so he might just ignore the Mire Keeper, just to squeeze in a bit more damage and maybe get another cycle off of the Imp.
Oh, the Ancient of War, though.
Soulfire is still in the deck, so that's a bit more reach that RDU can rely on. Alright, we got another donation. Cold Cow with $100. Let's go, Thijs. Lad status wooed. What the hell does that mean? Oi, lad. Cold Cow, thanks a ton. I know you already donated yesterday. We saw your name, so we know you've been around. Appreciate it. Thanks for the continued support. We're getting there. Less than $400 to go. Come on.
Wow.
Super close. Well, that was a pretty good Soulfire draw right there. It actually enables him to cycle off the Darkshire Librarian and get himself the Councilman on the board.
Yeah,
now,
worked out pretty good.
Do you think we see a trade, or does Swipe already punish you anyway and it doesn't matter much?
I mean, I feel like he has to protect his Darkshire Councilman.
He's protected from Living Roots, from Moonfire.
Yeah.
From Raven Idol, Savage Roar. No, I'm kidding. It's just one of those fringe possibilities. I don't mind the trade. I really don't mind it. I think it's possibly better.
Yeah. It's gotten value already. He's gotten so many cards from that Malcazar's imp.
And now another good turn for Thijs gets the Ragnaros with Moonfire. 50-50 to kill the Councilman and also reduces the cost of his Giant, so it's playable on curve as it stands. It looks like RDU, I think, doesn't win without the Councilman, and it's the most important minion, hence why he protected it last turn. So if it doesn't die, he still has a slight shot if he goes super wide on the board.
Yeah, he has to go wide. What is the option here?
Ha. That's kind of cool. Take the egg?
It's not... Yeah, the egg is fine. He still has a abusive... That's not abusive. Defender of Argus, right? So should be handy.
I mean, Rag could pop it too.
That's true.
Thijs wants to play his Giant, and I still think it's reasonable, but he's looking for swipes and AoE removal, something that he can target, as opposed to just hoping it goes where he wants it to. So I could see him Nourish here. I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, it just makes his Arcane Giant cheaper too. It's a tough decision, actually.
I think you really need to spot remove minions, because that 5/5 is probably going to become at least a 7/5 next turn, depending.
Oh my. He could Fandral, Innervate Wrath.
And maybe draw the Moonfire on the back of it and kill the 5/5? Or do you just kill the Dark Peddler? Because this is playing for your outs, right? There is...
Yeah. So that the rag doesn't hit... The rag doesn't hit like a 1/1.
Killing the Peddler is the safest way to get something thing that you want to hit. The issue is, I don't think you accomplish all that much by doing so. Like, you'd rather leave 3 minions that you're happy to hit, and 2 that you're not, being face in the egg. Oh,
wow,
that
that's
councilman gets sniped.
great hit.
RDU just throws himself back in his chair, rubs his eyes like, is this for real? Did I really not make it through last call all for this? What is this? Am I never lucky? No, RDU. Sometimes you are, just not today.
Yeah, that's pretty bad luck there, but it really happens sometimes.
He doesn't have any
Sometimes
more
you get-
Doom Guards, so it's down to... Well, honestly, it's down to his opponent having no healing, and knowing Fellow Rage is a thing, and Raven Idol is a thing, it's just not looking very good. Nourish can draw cards, give him mana crystals, Raven Idols can find healing, and Thijs can just start cleaning up the board with spells anyway. No, Thijs' side seems to be frozen.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, he's drawing cards, but we don't see it.
Yeah, looks like the spectator mode has frozen. So this could be this is probably Living Roots, but oh no, he's
Swipe.
picked up a swipe off the draw. That's a welcome sight.
Is he gonna? $5 from Jared J. Thank you, Jared J.
So Thijs is just doing his thing at this point, but this is one of those things that Druid does nowadays that it didn't used to. It gets the ability to just come back on the board, I think, even more powerfully than before against these minion-heavy decks. Because with Moonfire and Living Roots, which are going to hurt, I think, when Living Roots rotates out, it's going to really hurt Druid, because it's been a staple that's been carrying them for a little while for against aggro decks with Go and flood the board with a lot of small has no wild growth, no Myra Keeper ends up passing his turn 3 again. RDU racing ahead here in terms of potential power plays to make. That's a play I can make. Do you go ahead and make the Ancient War?
Yeah.
With double Drake and double Nourish, right? You're fine.
Yeah, it's a pretty great turn. I mean, you're just gonna be dealing 5 damage every turn until it's dealt with. And we haven't. I don't even know if Thijs runs Mulch. I don't think so. Or maybe just 1.
I think he does run
Like...
it. I mean, I'd be surprised if he didn't. Thijs here can choose to swipe now and then go for swipe on next turn with double Moonfire or Moonfire. I mean, it hurts and it doesn't feel good, but it's going to be really good. RDU picking up what probably is the best possible follow-up to this Innervate Coin Ancient of War play. His luck may have turned. His luck may have turned.
Yeah. Seems good. So Thijs could now ramp, most likely. Or he's going to just deal with this Ancient of War with the swipe and Moonfire. Or Feral Rage. Hero Power.
I don't mind the ramp. What's good about his current hand is that even though it seems bad, he can always go for Ancient of War and Moonfire to finish off the Ancient. The big problem I find with playing Ancient of War is that if the opponent has Mulch, you're nowhere. You've literally done nothing. Because you go Nourish now, he hits you. You play Ancient of War, he mulches, he goes phase. And while he's doing this, he might have his own Innervate plays. And so the Ancient has taken, what, 20 health by the time you've stabilized? Yeah. So ramping seems good. In a weird way, but at the same time it's also the best way for you to end up at 10 health and die to a single Malagos Moonfire Roots play. So it is really risky to ramp against an Ancient of War in that spot.
Yeah, Thijs doesn't look happy there. I mean, he knows he's like behind now after dealing with that Ancient of War. And now he has to deal with this Emperor Thorson. And RDU's cards are all so cheap now. While Thijs was just defending himself.
Alright, RDU with the Malagos and the double Living Roots. I mean, this is, with the Moonfire double Roots, that's 20 damage. Basically, next turn RDU wins the game if Thijs doesn't find some kind of miraculous play to heal himself, develop a minion, prevent the damage from coming in, and also turn back the aggression onto RDU, which I don't think you can do with 7 mana open and no ramp. You can do miracles, but not this type. Now RDU is just gonna win through taunt. Who cares?
Yeah. I mean, you can't really expect this. If your opponent has it, he just has it.
Yeah, it's not as though you could even play around the card, right? Like, you can't even assume that even if you had it, you would even care about it. So Thijs now 2-1, loses his Druid and has to fight off against RDU's Druid. Their teammates probably built the deck together. Again, this is bittersweet because the 3 people that are left in the event at this point, in the semis, are all G2 players. We've got Life Coach waiting for whoever wins this in the grand finals of the event. And RDU, I think, is in dire need of a pat on the back. He's had a really rough time this year. I mean, he went through every single possible way to get through prelims, missed out, and then the last call came up, he finished in the finals, didn't make it through, lost to Pavel in the, what was a bit of an epic grand finals. And RDU is just, he needs a win, honestly. He's done very well this year, but he just wants another win after what happened to him.
Thijs and RDU are like the younger ones of G2, so it's like Life Coach could be like, yeah, let the young ones battle it out first.
Yeah, RDU pretends like he's 16 when you ask him his age, like, yeah, I'm totally 16 when he's not.
I don't know how old
he's a liar.
But I think he's.
Guilty.
I know they're young. I think RDU's like 18, right? Thijs, I'm not sure. 19, I would guess. I don't know.
I think he's a bit older than that, but yeah, they're both very young players of the Hearthstone scene. Not amnesiac young, but definitely young.
Yeah.
Alright, so Thijs did get a really good opener. RDU's list is the one with Gaddis and Auctioneers, which cycles a lot more and relies on the consistency of the card draw to reach the Malygos kill. Unfortunately, you do end up in spots like these where the Gaddis is good, but without Innervate, it doesn't draw enough. And you end up in really clunky spots. Yeah, I feel like this board from Thijs, as well as the hand that he's got, is powerful enough to beat a Druid player, regardless. So pick up a swipe, Starfall.
Possibly. Mark of the Wild, I guess, just to taunt up something.
I don't think it does much against Zoo, because they still trade into your minions, unless you're direly low on health. I think Nourish might be a tiny bit better, but not by much. You could ramp up with Nourish and hope that your next draw is good, and you can use the Gaddis with a bunch of spells, because that would enable you to go Gaddis, Feral Rage, Moonfire, maybe pick up an Innervate and make something happen. Or just draw straight up to pick up a swipe. It's tough to say.
Yeah, it's really tough. It's like... Yeah, plus you might not even have a minion to taunt up, right? He's got Soulfire in his hand.
It's useless. Usually Zoo trades anyway, so you don't need to incentivize them by giving them a taunt.
This is Nourish, yeah. Drake. He's gonna Moonfire the Dark Peddler here. Just get an extra minion off the board.
Alright, that's a little bit less pressure, but it's far from over. I mean, Soulfire's right there. Now, is there anything Thijs desperately wants to play first? Because, I mean, the problem is if you play anything first, then Doomguard has a higher chance of going away. And I think you can toy around with whatever minions are left for you. Like Voidwalker and Abusive.
Would you Soulfire first?
Probably, yeah. That'd be my inclination. Hell, I might even life tap first and then Soulfire. To increase the odds of keeping Doomguard.
What if you get another Doomguard when you tap?
Well, I mean, I might as well get Silverware Golem, right? Like, the odds are higher than that happens. Maybe he's gonna try to get the double one-drop play. Did he lose Doomguard? He did.
Oh,
yikes.
Wow. That's not what he wanted.
Yikes. We got 2 more donations coming in, by the way, guys. Guy Misa for $20, and it's Psycal for $10. Saying Rag MVP of the tournament. That's true. We were talking about this with Falcon Punch yesterday. In a metagame that is dominated by these types of decks, when the metagame slows down a little bit, like it did after the nerf to Shaman, Ragnaros seems to see a rise in popularity, and the the swinginess of Rag is as true as it's ever been, but it's when the metagame slows down that you notice how much it's just another one of these, you know, swingy RNG cards that is, for the most part, because it's a late game card, not quite about as much. So, stabilization point commencing for RDU or not? Are we there yet?
I mean, I think losing the Doom Guard wasn't even that bad for Thijs.
Wasn't it? I think it was horrible.
I mean, I know, it is horrible, but he's still doing okay without it, because RDU doesn't really have much... Oh, he has a Feral Rage and Wrath, but he can't, like...
Well, you need to deal with this Gaddison Auctioneer, so that's already a tool that you know is going to leave you exposed. If you pop the bubble, for instance, swipe is a worse problem for you. Like, this board right now is very vulnerable to swipe.
He's gonna play the Silverware Golem.
I like that. I like that a lot.
It's not that bad against swipe. I mean, well...
This board is pretty bad against swipe, yeah.
He just hero powers the Void Walker and then swipes the Imcan. And then Wraths, also.
It would be a very good swipe if RDU had it, but he doesn't have it, so that's beside the point. Now RDU has to try to fight off against this board with what he's got. There's the option of Wrathing first, and then using Arcane Giant to set up an 8-8, and then with an 8-8 on the board, on turn 9, you then play Ancient of War, get to maybe mix it in with an extra hero power to, you know, save yourself. But that leaves you exposed to an entire turn of possibly Doomguard.
Right.
The draw is Doomguard, you're in a bit of a pickle.
It could Wrath the Dire Wolf and then Arcane Giant if he's gonna take that line.
Right, that was the initial idea. So you get the Giant now and then the Ancient on turn 9. And that's what he's gonna do for now. Maybe on turn 9 we might see him go for a very, very ambitious Nourish into swipe, but for now, I feel like he's figured out what he wants to do and what gives him an increased chance of surviving. What's really good about this line of play too is that the mana count for Thijs is 6, and which means he can't live tap into Doomguard. So the Ancient of War comes out at the right time, which is when the Warlock has 2 draws to find the Doomguard to push in. Still an absurdly low amount of HP. 8 health left. Oh!
Oh, Fandral into Nourish. Or wait, Fandral to Feral Rage.
I think Feral Rage may be more immediately important, but...
Oh.
Is there a world where you still delay it 1 turn? Because if you go Ancient of War now and then play Fandral on 10, you can go Fandral, Nourish, Feral. And that is maybe a tiny bit better. It's tough to say, but...
I like
sure looks good.
First.
That turn 10 for RDU may lock Thijs out of damage. And how much damage is there right now on the board? We're looking at a total of, well, 10 really to kill the Ancient. Juggler could throw in a bit of juggling here and there to help. Doomguard could come in for an extra 5, but other than that, I don't see Thijs winning the game this turn, and that means RDU will live probably to see his stabilization.
Yeah, that's not what Thijs wanted to see.
Wow, that's a surprising follow-up. RDU can't believe it. If that Doomguard had not been discarded, Thijs would probably already have won. But Doomguard went away, and with it, Thijs' chance of breaking
so close.
Yeah.
So he still has to trade it. Yeah, he has to trade everything in. If he wants to kill the taunt.
You might not trade away the Juggler, because you hope that maybe he has to respect it and trades the Giant into it. But in this spot, we know full well what's not going to happen. Any trades are not going to come in from RDU. And RDU was very happy with what he just picked up. We'll clean up the board here and there.
Thijs doesn't even want to look.
Oh my goodness, this is getting nastier and nastier by the second. The Wrath dealing 4 and cycling a card thanks to Fandral. The Innervate Fell Rage giving RDU 8 more health, up to 16, and 4 attack if he ever chose to deal with the Juggler.
Yeah, that just doesn't look good anymore for Thijs.
I guess you want to keep your health low and your minions' health high. And kill the Flame Imp with your face instead. Or not, you know, that's fine too.
Yeah.
This is basically
deny the
going through the
card draw.
motions. Right.
Yeah.
Thijs knowing full well his only chance is something like a Doom Guard. And then finding even more reach with Peddlers, but it's just not gonna happen. And he leaves, and RDU equalizes the series. Could the Druid be the MVP of this?
Yeah, of course. Everyone wants to win.
Well, RDU with the double Wild Growth on the opener is certainly starting off with a good ramp start. The big issue is, does he have what it takes to follow it up and deny the Hunter his early tempo? I think that's what matters.
Thijs has the option to coin something out, but yeah, it's best to just save the coin for later. Sometimes like hunters have weird turns that you actually need the coin for.
Yeah, usually it's turn 5 you have nothing to do on, so you know, coining out a high main can be super impactful. Coining out a Houndmaster on a Kindly Grandmother is also really good. I would not be surprised to see RDU just pop the Grandma if he wanted. Just like either Moonfire Wrath with the Wild Growth on top. Well, he chooses to do neither of these things, and the Grandmother will get taunted up by the Houndmaster. Do you play Houndmaster here? I imagine you do, but
yeah,
there are other plays. This one just looks really powerful.
I mean, he could just play Animal Companion and just Houndmaster something later.
It's more vulnerable to swipe.
That's true.
Now RDU sees a ton of pressure coming his way, and he's gonna have to respond, but Nourish could ramp him up to Rag if he wanted desperately to get it out next turn. Otherwise, it's gonna be card draw and pray, or just Wrath and pass your turn.
Oh, that's very, very bad.
I mean, Nourish Wrath seems okay, but
yeah, I think that's fine too. Nourish for a ramp. So you can play the Rag next turn, right?
right, you would be... Well, you would have played 2 spells, so even the Giant would be viable, but Nourishing for ramp also lets you Wrath the 4/3 at the same time, which seems like the most bored proactive play given the hand that he's been given. So that's what he's gonna opt for. I like that.
Ooh, the Barns. Is he gonna play the Barns or the Infested Wolf? He could get a Rag from his Barns.
RDU has 9 permanent
High
mana
main.
crystals.
High main is always good.
Not if you're RDU.
Yeah.
RDU is not feeling too good about the ending of that story. Do you ever Moonfire Living Roots, the like one Hyena instead? Because that way you pop the High main right now. Because if you wait to pop the High main, I feel like the Ragnaros just gets worse and worse. I think I like that play. It's very heavy in terms of committing resources, but I think it pays off in the long run.
Another donation. Average Jeff with $10. Jared J with $5. To my girlfriend, I do what I want and I love you.
She probably told him to stop watching the Kinguin for charity event, and he's like, I do what I want and I love you. Well, RDU's run into this event is looking very dire indeed. We see a lot of pressure coming from Thijs' side. Ragnaros is the only thing between RDU and Hunter's aggression. I think if Thijs just assumes this pressure is going to stick around, going face for the amount of damage that he is going for with the kill command and quick shot in hand is just optimal. Unless RDU picks up like an Azure Drake in the swipe, which could happen, granted.
I would just
it's looking very tough.
Yeah, I would just like Hero Power. You have the KC, you have the quick shot.
Mulch is not what you're looking for at RDU. I mean, it helps thin down some of the board, but...
Yeah, I could kill the Huffer and just drop the Arcane Giant hero
No
power.
big game hunter, please. Alright, this Amgam Rager.
We're seeing a lot of cards that we don't normally see today.
Well, Thijs picked up the Eldritch Horror earlier and won with it, so that was pretty cool. The lowest power minion RDU's luck is completely running out. Again, would it have been better if you just lost 0-3, or is this better? I think this is just a good draw with double wild growth, you know, that's acceptable. Running up against the worst possible outcome. I still have to go back to the turn where he could have moonfired and ratted the